Good evening from the Channel's newsroom here in London. Democratic contenders to become the next president of the United States have backed the impeachment inquiry of Donald Trump. At the fifth debate in the race to pick a challenger to Donald Trump in November 2020, the candidates said the president's conduct had forced lawmakers to hold him accountable and that his efforts to press Ukraine to investigate former Vice President Joe Biden was an example of the administration's corruption.
Look, I would not direct my Justice Department like this president does. I'd let them make their independent judgment. I would not dictate who should be prosecuted.
We have a president who is not only a pathological liar, he is likely the most corrupt president in the modern history of America. But we cannot simply be consumed by Donald Trump. Because if we are, you know what? We're going to lose the election.
We have to establish the principle, no one is above the law. We have a constitutional responsibility, and we need to meet it.
Well, the constitutional process of impeachment should be beyond politics, and it is not a part of the campaign. But the president's conduct is. The impeachable conduct that we have seen in the abuse of power that we're learning more about in the investigations. But just to be clear, the president's already confessed to it on television.
Scotland's former First Minister Alex Salmond has appeared in court charged with carrying out a series of sexual offences against 10 women. Mr Salmond faced a total of 14 charges at the High Court in Edinburgh. He denies all of the allegations, which include 1 attempted rape, 1 intent to rape, 10 sexual assaults and 2 indecent assaults. The offences are alleged to have happened between June 2008 and November 2014. SpaceX's Starship rocket prototype experienced a major failure during pressurization testing. A video from the scene in Texas showed the top part of the vehicle rupture. Cryogenic propellants that were being loaded at the time dispersed across the Boca Chica facility in a huge cloud. The US company owned by Elon Musk bills Starship as an all-purpose transportation system of the future. It will be used to ferry people and cargo off Earth and to destinations around the globe. The Mk1 prototype was due to begin practice flights to an altitude of 20 kilometers in the coming weeks. An oil pipeline facility owned by Mexican state-owned petroleum company Pemex caught fire near the town of Tetepango in the state of Hidalgo. Firefighters took 10 hours to bring the fire under control, with up to 200 residents in surrounding communities evacuated. Video showed flames and smoke billowing as firefighters fought the blaze. Spanish rescue ship Open Arms has rescued 73 migrants from a tightly packed rubber dinghy that had been drifting in the Mediterranean for nearly 24 hours.
How many people?
They were picked up around 49 miles off the Libyan coast. Those rescued included 2 children under the age of 5. Those on board were mostly from Central and Western Africa, and many were suffering from hypothermia and second-degree burns from prolonged exposure to salt water and gasoline. There have been 994 confirmed deaths so far this year on the 3 main Mediterranean migratory routes. Sri Lanka's newly elected president, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, has sworn in his elder brother, former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, as Prime Minister, cementing the powerful family's political comeback. The appointment of Mahinda Rajapaksa came hours after the former Premier, Ranil Wickremesinghe, tendered his resignation following the defeat of his party's candidate in a presidential election to Gotabaya Rajapaksa over the weekend. It is the first time in Sri Lankan history that 2 siblings have held the 2 top political positions. Pope Francis has met Thailand's supreme Buddhist patriarch at the start of an official visit on Thursday. He met Somdet Pra Mahamuniwong, who at 91 is nearly a decade older than the Pope. During his visit to the Southeast Asian country, the Pope is expected to speak out on human trafficking and to urge compassion for refugees. The small but fervent Catholic minority were expected to turn out in large numbers for the pontiff's visit to overwhelmingly Buddhist Thailand, the first stop on a 7-day Asian tour that also includes Japan. And finally, if you're not a fan of heights, you may want to look away now, as the reigning FINA World High Diving Champion Rhiannon Ifland of Australia and Colombia's cliff diving legend Orlando Duke have been performing at the historic G Stepwell in Jodhpur. The Australian, who remained unbeaten all year, completed her season with a series of non-competitive dives into the Stepwell, which was originally built as a drinking source of water for Jodhpur in the 1740s. And that's your international news around the world in 5.